The guy was there. He was at the house when I cut the trees down. Never stepped out the house. I was there for probably about an hour and a half. Didn't say anything to me. Waited till I got home that night. Man, it's really debatable whether or not this is quality service or not, guys. Let's talk about it. Hit the comments up. Let me know what you think about cutting grass, wet grass, cutting grass in the rain. I get it. You know, sometimes we got to do it. Sometimes we do. We don't have a choice. But is it really giving quality service? That's the big thing, man. I mean, sometimes you may have to just skip a lawn and come back. You know, you may have to double up one day. You can't always get out there and get it done. But, you know, that's just my personal opinion, you know, about the situation. I want to give a real quick shout out to Joe at Cutter Squad. If you guys haven't checked out his channel, you need to do it. Man, giving a bunch of knowledge about the lawn care game and what really goes on, man. But, you know, that was just one thing I wanted to talk about. He reminded me of, you know, some customer situations. He went through a lot of customer situations that you're going to face when you're out there in the lawn care industry, especially as a solo lawn care operator. I mean, you know, people wanting to do different things and not necessarily respecting the lawn care business. You know, the guys that are out there hustling, actually trying to do it right. Some of that, I mean, to be honest, I guess it is from bad experiences with other lawn care services and things like that. You know, guys that are out there just mowing and blowing. But, you know, I think it's just some of that. Some of that, you just not, every customer is not going to be your customer. And like Joe was saying, when you first get started, man, you're going to have to take on a lot of customers that you probably don't want to deal with. But guess what? That's just part of the business. You still got to get out there and get it done and make it happen. And I have a story that kind of, you know, introduced me to the lawn care customer issue game. And there was a couple things that I noticed in the very beginning that didn't rub me right. And that's what the things that I want you guys to kind of notice when you're out there dealing with customers. If it's your first year or if you're second year, third year, you're running into these customers that you're like, you know, you get a funny feeling about. You need to pay attention to it. I think all of us have a little spider sense in us. So with that being said, you know, this customer, first of all, you know, it was a husband and a wife couple. They the wife actually came across the street to get me when I was mowing another customer's yard. So, you know, whatever the case, didn't pay much attention to it. We get over to the yard, and her husband, which was right across the street, her husband walks out, and she says, well, why don't you guys walk the yard? Again, no big deal. Okay, cool. I done met both people, and you always want to do that when you're dealing with, you know, couples. As much as possible, try to meet both of them, you know, at the same time. It kind of keeps down a lot of confusion, but it didn't necessarily do that in this case. While me and the husband are walking the yard, he just happened to mention that the last guy that was cutting their yard was a preacher that carried you know, some protection with him. So I just thought it was kind of strange that we live in Louisiana. You're welcome to carry whatever you want to, especially in this time and age. So that kind of rubbed me. Why do you have an issue with him doing that? You know, we should be used to that. And so anyway, you know, he kind of mentioned to me that his little rose bush, the guy also ran over, which wasn't much of a rose bush really, but you know, that's beside the point. So after we go through all this, go ahead and get a price set with him. The wife says, hey, you're going to be dealing directly with me. Again, another thing that kind of rubbed me wrong. Well, if I'm going to be dealing directly with you, I think you should have been the one that walked the yard with us and not me and your husband by ourselves, you know, and pay attention to what I'm saying. So as we're doing all this, she asks me about the flower beds, if I could redo a flower bed and stuff like that. And he was like, well, I don't need the flower bed redone. It just need, so right there in his first interaction, there was some confusion. Hadn't even gotten to the yard yet, hadn't even quoted him a price or anything. So, quote him a price, come back to cut the yard. Well, no, I actually think I cut it. Yeah, I cut it that day. I remember. I'm sorry. I did. I cut it that day. No problem. Got the money. Everything was fine. He did ask me if I spent that much time in everybody's yard, which you're normally going to spend a little bit more time in somebody's yard if it's your first time. Make sure you get it right, get it the way you want it cut. Another key indicator. While we were walking the yard, he also casually mentioned that he used to cut grass. That's a signal, guys. If you ever run across a guy that said he used to cut grass before, that is one of the customers that you want to stay away from. You may want to go ahead, get into it like I did, and just know and be aware that that's probably not going to last long. And of course it didn't. Again, going back to while I'm there, she's telling me there's some trees in the backyard that need to be cut down. They're like Christmas trees. They're not tall at all. They're probably about 8 feet. So she wanted me to give her a quote. Gave her a quote on that. Went ahead and did everything else. Left. Came back to give her the quote. And at the time she says, well, my husband says that's too much. We'll go ahead and get somebody else. He'll get one of his friends or his homeboys to cut it down. Cool. That's the reason why I quoted it the high price for a small job, because I really didn't want to do it. Didn't want to be involved with all the extra. Just really wanted to cut grass at the time. That's all I wanted to be concerned about. So again, we didn't have any issue there. Cut the yard for about 4 months, every 2 weeks. No problem. Wife paid on time. No issues at all. About month 4, all of a sudden I get a call and she says that she wants the trees cut down and she wants to go ahead and get the quote done. And I said, oh, you guys are going to get that done? You guys are going to get that done, right? Yeah, that's no problem. We'll go ahead and get it done at the price that you quoted and everything. And I'm like, man, didn't want to deal with that at all. Ended up going one Saturday, and this is where the story starts to get funny. Show up, and there's another guy there who's doing the flower bed, redoing the flower bed for him. And so I'm like, well, okay, cool. No problem. Never gave her a quote on the flower beds or anything like that. I'm not going to worry about it. So I get there to cut the trees down. She's introduced me to the guy, and I'm like, had this funny feeling like, this guy's probably going to start cutting the yard. It's just one of those things because of everything else that had happened previously. So I go ahead, cut the trees down, haul them off, get home. All of a sudden, I get another phone call, and it's the husband. The husband literally says, I do not like the way you handle my wife. Mind you, I have no clue what he's talking about. I'm like, well, what are you talking about? He's like, well, you charged her too much to cut those trees down, and just totally lost it on me. Told me how he's a country boy and he should have just thrown him on the side of the road. And I'm going back to work, basically telling me I'm not going to do business that way. That's completely up to you, but I'm not going to do business that way. So I charged you guys accordingly. Which again he didn't care too much for, and that's kind of where that relationship went south. I just went ahead and told them at that time, I think it's best that you get somebody else to handle that situation. And of course they agreed. Me and his wife never had an issue, but those are the things that you need to be aware of when you're out there dealing with customers. There's certain situations that'll happen and you'll just know through your instinct, through your spider sense, that, hey, this isn't the customer for me. It's not, So again, it's important to realize that, and you got to also realize, guys, these customers that are causing you all these problems, they are non-factors in your success. And I say that because of the fact that those customers that you lose, every time you lose one, you're gonna gain two more. And that's just the reality of it, because you're putting yourself in the right space and place. At the end of the day, you don't want a customer that's gonna, cause those type of issues and circumstances in your business to where you have to deal with. We're already too busy as it is. We don't have time to go back and forth with a customer that you gave a quote to 4 months ago and they come back and accept the quote, and now all of a sudden it's a problem. And